welcome to Whiteboard Learning Platform. My name is Anuradha Tripathi. Here in today's session, we are going to discuss very important significant change which have been done by the Supreme Court of India. You can easily understand by looking at the image. So this is about the change in the lady justice. So there are three significant change have been done and one remain unchanged. So from the image itself, we can see this is the old one, lady justice. So, and this is the new one. So very first change that have been done is the removal of blindfold, and the second change is related to the removal of the sword, and instead of sword now the lady justice is holding the Constitution of India, and the third one is a change in the attire. So previously it's used to have the western attire, but now the sari, which is representing the Indian culture. If you talk about the one aspect which have remained unchanged, this is about holding the scale. So we are going to discuss that what is the history behind this lady justice and what are these exact, what are these symbol is having the exact connotation or the meaning. So here, if you talk about this origin of this particular concept of the lady justice, it was first introduced by the Roman emperor, namely Augustus, whereby the justice is used to be considered as one of the important virtue of that needs to be upheld by any emperor. So gradually this was evolved into the goddess figure who is basically becoming a symbol which is representing the justice in the legal system. Here the justice means having the one of the important element which is the fairness. Okay, so the justice should be delivered in a fair manner, because of which this goddess figure have been evolved over a period of time, and all the aspect or the symbols which is there in the goddess figure represent one of the important aspect of the justice. Okay, so here we'll see the traditional symbols that were used and what are their associated meaning. Okay, so that may or may not resonate with any country. Okay, so we are going to see that these are the traditional symbol, what is their means and how it is different from Indian symbol and their meaning. So here if we see that scale, okay, so the scales which we have seen the ladies holding in the hand, that is representing the weighing evidences from both the party. So here both the party, one will be accused and another will be the victim. So when you are delivering the justice, so it should consider the evidences or the opinion of the both the party. Okay, so this is what the meaning of scale. Okay, now the second is the blindfold. So that was added later on in the 16th of century, whereby that used to be interpreted as the symbol of impartiality. Means while delivering the justice, one should not favor one individual over the others. So that is what the meaning of what? Fairness. And that is symbolically identified as a blindfold. Now the third is the toga. Here the toga is basically the attire. So this is what the philosophical attitude of the Greek Roman word. Now the fourth one is related to the sword. Here the sword symbolizes the authority, that if there will be anything against the law, rules, regulation, then one can be punished. So this sword is basically symbolizing the authority and the power, whereby this modern interpretation have been changed. So for example, in India we have seen the recent change. Instead of sword we are having the constitution. So here the holding of the constitution means as per the fundamental law of the land, which is the Constitution of India, the principle of the constitution will be used in order to instead of sword, which is denote the power, or sometime it is associated as the violence. Okay, so these are the four traditional symbols and having the different meaning which denote the symbolic significance of the justice, and this symbol have been changed over a period of time, and not just the symbol but their meaning associated with them. So now we are going to discuss that what are the changes have been done with respect to India. So one is related to the blindfold. That blindfold have been removed. So that is means that traditional blindfold have been removed in order to signify that the law is not blind, but rather it looks every individual as equally. So basically, this is something which is denoting the shift from the colonial mindset to the modern Indian concept, that here the justice or the law is basically is going to look each and every individual in equal manner. Okay, so this is the very first important change. Now, the second change is replacement of sword. Sword, traditionally we have discussed, is related to the use of the power and the authority to punish an individual or to act as a basically deterrent in the society, that no one should do anything against the law. So now there is a replacement of the sword with the help with the Indian Constitution, which means that while delivering the justice or doing the justice with an individual, the principle of the constitution is going to be used rather than as a sword which is symbolizing the power and the punishment. So the sword, which used to be considered as a symbol of violence, now the constitution is going to be the basic building block. Now the constitution is going to be the basic building block or the legal framework which is used as a basis of justice. So basically, this is also, we can say that something we are moving away from the colonial mindset. Okay. So here the constitution values are going to be used rather than the punitive measures. Then the third important aspect that have been changed is the cultural adoptions. We have seen that now the statue now wears a sari, which is Indian traditional attire. So here it means the Indian legal system is giving the due consideration to the Indian culture, which means the Indian cultural norms will also be taken into the consideration rather than the modern Western, rather than the Western attire. So this is also somehow inculcation of the Indian culture inside into the Indian justice system. If you talk about the retained element, so here the element which have been retained is scale. And here what does the scale means? That in order to do the justice and on to ensure the fairness, the due consideration will be given to the two aspects. One is the evidences and the argument along which is given from the both side. So this retained element of the which is unchanged, namely the scale, that is it's going to be continue to be symbolizes as the element of fairness and the balance in order to give the due representation of the viewpoint of the evidences from the both side and the argument as well. Okay, so this is the change which have been done in the Lady Justice statue. So what is your opinion as far as the symbolic change in the Indian legal system is concerned? So is it going to change the wide landscape of the Indian legal system or the justice system, or it is just a mere a symbolic change which have been done? So don't forget to write your comment in the comment section. This was all about the today's session. Thank you so much.